Welcome back, Star Wars fans. So today we're going to go to Hoth. I'm going to go over a Premiere-Hoth deck. This is kind of one of my babies, meaning that I designed this deck, entirely by myself. I've never really seen anybody else play anything like it, and it's pretty good. It has an advantage where, because nobody else really plays anything like it, people who play it for the first time they really have no idea how to play against it, and it's just a good deck overall as well. So I'm going to go over that. There's some big news on the Retro League that the Players Committee just announced some stuff here in the last week or so on the 2024 Retro League. So why don't I talk about that a little bit while I open this pack of cards. So the Retro League, if you don't know, is a tournament that started. They did the first one 2 years ago, and it's actually what got me into playing online. I just played with some friends a lot. Besides playing back in the '90s a lot, playing tournaments then and stuff, and then just in the last few years here, basically since like COVID started, one of those people that got back into their old hobbies. Found some cards and started playing again, and found a few guys that play, and played in person a lot, and just had heard about this way to play online. Hadn't really done it. Well, then I heard about the Retro League, and the only way to play in the Retro League was to play online. And essentially what the Retro League is you play in 5 different tournaments throughout the year. There's 5 different formats. So like for this year, they announced the first format is going to be the Premiere-Hoth format, which is what, again, this deck, this is the 3rd Premiere-Hoth deck that I'll have gone over in the last month or so. And I've got another Dark Side deck planned here too to do soon. But anyway, so the first tournament is gonna be Premiere-Hoth. So what they do is, you get the guy who runs the league. He pairs everybody up with somebody similar record, and then you have a week to contact them through like email, sometimes messenger or something like that, but mostly contact them through email. Try and set up a time for your match, then play your match, and then the league gets recorded, and then the next week you get matched up with somebody else. Who is like, if you won the first week, the second week you're gonna get matched up with somebody else that probably won the first week also, and then so on and so forth until, when you get to the 5th and 6th rounds, you're playing against other people. If you've won the whole way, you're playing against other people who have won the whole way, or if you haven't hardly won at all, you're playing against other people who haven't hardly won at all. And then there's like prizes for the winners and the top people of each format. Like I know I got a couple of booster packs for my participation and how I did in last year's Retro League. But yeah, it's super fun. And then there's going to be this year, the thing that they're adding on is there's going to be there's been an overall winner each year. So like throughout all the tournaments, they keep there's like a point system that they keep track of. So like Dr. Torch, John Paul Feldman, he was a monster player in the 90s, and he's been playing again in the last few years. He's won the Retro League overall the last couple of years. This year they're going to do a final tournament actually. So the top 8 people from the year for the Retro League are going to play in a tournament at the end of the year. So that'll be pretty cool. It'll be something different. But yeah, it's Premiere to Hoth, then it's Premiere to Cloud City with most insert cards being banned. And then it's going to be Premiere to Death Star. Premiere to Death Star 2 or Premiere to Endor. One of the two. Anyway, it's definitely Premiere to Death Star 2 and Premiere to Endor. I'm just not sure which order that's in. And then the Premiere to Endor is going to have there's some kind of different things to that one too, so that it'll be a little bit fresh. And then lastly, it'll be Premiere to Reflections 2. So there's one rare. I think that is actually an R1, unfortunately. And assault rifle. I think that's actually an R1 too. So I think I got 2 R1s here, but unfortunately, just kind of 2 lame R1s. Let's see. Center is pretty good. Corners are pretty good. Huh. Have to check that a little bit closer after this, but so yeah, if you have been playing, play Star Wars cards and just haven't really got online, I don't know, the Retro League, you know, if you like playing with the old school cards, like a lot of people do. I mean, in most formats, there was typically like 50 some players each format, or each tournament, I want to say. So with like 60 some total players, total unique players total for the entire Retro League. You don't have to play in each tournament if you don't want to, each format. So there are, you know, a couple of people usually that do drop out of a format or not want to play a certain format and then, you know, play in other ones. So yeah, but yeah, it's if you play some cards, Star Wars cards, the Retro League is a great way to kind of dip your toes into playing online and playing tournaments, and I don't know, it's just fun. I really enjoy it. So anyway, let's get back into this Premiere-Hoth deck. So we start out with the main power generators. So we got Hoth energy rules, shield rules in effect here. I won't go over a full, you know, reminder on that, but the main thing is when you play the main power generators, you have to play a marker site that is like fourth marker or further out. If the dark side doesn't play the fourth marker, because fourth marker there are dark side decks that definitely use the fourth marker as their starting location. So if you start the game, you flip over your main power generators. If they flip over the Hoth fourth marker, well, then we're already ready to go. Otherwise, if they don't start with like the fourth marker, then technically what you do is you search your deck for a marker site, and the only way you can play the main power generators is if there is a Hoth marker site of the fourth marker or higher. So then you start with these two sites. Otherwise, like I said, if dark side starts the fourth marker, you're starting with the main power generators, and they've got the fourth marker, which just gives them one more force and gives you one less force. So it's not ideal if they start with the fourth marker. Anyway, so those are your starting locations. And so a big part of this deck, I love T-47s. If you've seen any of my other videos, I try and make successful T-47 decks in about every tournament format there is. I've done a pretty good job of it, I'd say. So anyway, got 5 Rebel Snowspeeders. These are the Snowspeeders that are part of the Hoth Empire Strikes Back 2-player starter kit. It's like a box set that gives you a dark side and a light side deck, so that you can just kind of like take them out of the box and play against each other. Much better than the Premiere 2-player set that they did. But these cards are in that, and they're just really efficient. It's a really efficient card. 1 deploy, 2 power, ability of 1. And then you can add, they can add a pilot to them. So just, again, like a pretty efficient card for 1 deploy. So I got 5 of these in here. And then we got the regular old Snowspeeders. And nice thing about these, they are 2 to deploy, but 4 forfeit. And then 3 power, permanent pilot ability of 1, add a pilot. They can also move as a react on Hoth. And that is important in this deck. So 5 of these kind of Snowspeeders as well. I do have 1 Rogue One in here. Super strong with Luke on it. Immune to attrition less than 3 in this format is pretty good. A lot of low destinies. And it's harder to track destinies in this format because you might have to, early in the game, if you're going to track destinies, you might have to track your destiny for 3-4 turns. There aren't many people that are really capable of doing that. So immunity to attrition less than 3, pretty big actually. Okay, so we got 3 Luke Skywalkers. Love getting Luke out early because he adds that 1 force activation when he's not on Tatooine. So I love getting Luke out early, getting an extra force activation. Han Solo, 2 of him, really good pilot. Really good on, T-47s, really good in space. I've got 1 Wedge Antilles. We're getting into a lot of the pilots here. Nice thing about Wedge, 4 Destiny, 6 forfeit, crazy. Zev, look at that pic photo from him in his Snowspeeder from Empire Strikes Back. Another pilot, Derek, also Also pilot Snowspeeders, Red Leader, Biggs, Boshek, the poor man's Luke Skywalker, but has that ability of 4. Jerome Webb, pilot, and also has that, or sorry, spy, pilot, and also has this thing where if he's with the rebel leader, subtracts 1 from opponent's total battle destiny. Pretty good. Galileo Organa, spy. It's one of my cool miscut cards. It's fun having the main characters with the miscut cards like that. And R2-D2 because he's a spy, and R2-D2 is just strong. He's got these things out here, you know, when an opponent draws Destiny 1 to 3, you may activate a force. They draw a Destiny of 4 to 6, you may draw a top card of your reserve deck. I mean, he's kind of like, when you're doing battles and stuff like that, he's just kind of a way of adding extra force every turn to your force generation. And then we got 3 Obi-Wan Kenobis, of course, because strongest character in the game at this time. And we'll take on all kinds of bad guys. 2 Tantive 4s, that's the only space that I've got in this deck. There is definitely room for a Millennium Falcon that could go in here. But I got 2 Tantive 4s in here. And, you know, really the game plan, take over some Hoth. If your opponent is playing Death Star, game plan is get a couple of your Hoth sites under control, and then try to play Tantive 4 to the Death Star, and just load the Tantive 4 up with pilots and try and control the Death Star. You know, 3 force drain if you control a Death Star. So, and then we've got Ice Storm, and this is like, you know, your opponent puts down Vader at the 4th marker to try to move him under the shield and move him to get to your guys. And then you play Ice Storm. And so you deploy the Ice Storm at outermost marker. All characters present at an exterior site are missing, which basically means they're like out of play. They can be found. Your opponent has to put together a crew to find them, and I won't get into the details on that rule, but it's not easy to unmake them missing, if you will. So, and then each turn it moves in further to the next marker in, and then once it gets to the main power generators, then it goes back to the outside. So, in order for your opponent to, once this gets out there, in order for your opponent to do anything on Hoth, they really need to be inside a Blizzard Walker. As long as you got T-47s out there and you got your guys inside T-47s, the Ice Storm is not going to affect them. So, got 2 Ice Storms, 2 undercovers. You know, get those spies if your opponent's trying to do something at a site. And oh gosh, sorry. You know, play a spy and play the undercovers down there so that they're not doing a big force drain, maybe at one of your sites, like one of your O2 sites or something like that, for example. Grimtosh, one of the most powerful cards in the game, 2 of those. So I've got 6 senses and only 1 altar in here. And I went a lot higher on the senses because there's not a lot of effects that I'm too worried about. And you hate to have somebody play a strong interrupt against you and you have an altar in your hand, you don't have any senses. So I went pretty heavy on senses here. So I got 6 senses and then just the 1 altar. Also my neat kind of miscut altar card. Love these cards. And then my other last interrupt is quite a mercenary. If Helross just completed transport, use 2 force. Ellis and all characters transport are lost. So, you know, somebody's got Vader and Tarkin at a site, and they want to move Vader and Tarkin with Ellis Hellrot. You've got this card in your hand and 2 force, and then Vader and Tarkin are gone. That is a blowout card. 1 Obi-Wan Saber, 1 Anakin Saber. And then the locations. Got the 2 of the, so some of these O2 sites give you 2 force, give your opponents none. I've got 2 of the Yavin 4 war rooms in here. 2 Yavin 4 Masasi runes, and 2, again, these are kind of dangerous. It's nice, they give you a lot of force, but if your opponent gets a spy and deploys to those, they can do, you know, big force drains there. So that's why I've got those undercovers and the spies in the deck in case that happens. And they're just too powerful to like be able to fight them. So put the Undercover Spies in there. Again, 2 of those, 1 of these Hoth Echo Corridors, just because it gives you a force and them 0. It does have this ability where you can pay 4 force to raise a converted Hoth site to the top. That actually could happen because there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of the 4th marker played by Darkside and a lot of the 3rd marker played by Darkside. And you've got 4th marker and 3rd markers in your deck too, so if you can convert yours backed up to the top, that can be advantageous for you. All right, so we got the defense. This is the light side 3rd marker. Force Drain +1 there if you control. Now, the nice thing about this is, and this is kind of one of the ways that this deck zings, you know, you put all you have to do is put, this is under the energy shield, so they cannot, your opponent cannot deploy to this site. They have to deploy to the 4th marker and then move to the 3rd marker. So you can put, you know, a Snowspeeder down at this site by itself and Force Drain for 2. And they, you know, usually they really need to do something about it, so they're going to probably try and go there to make sure you don't do that. But they're leaving themselves kind of, they're kind of a disadvantage because they can't deploy directly there. So they have to be careful when they're going underneath the energy shield. And then we've got a couple of 2nd markers in here. This one, you know, you only get to drain for 1, but again, you can put down 1 Snowspeeder on this site and just drain every turn. And in order for them to, your opponent to stop it, they've got to move there. You know, they've got to deploy to the 4th marker again, and then move over to the 2nd marker in order to stop it. So you get some kind of easy force drains in this deck if you get your sights out. And the other thing is these, you know, again, these Snowspeeders are so strong and the pilots are so good. A lot of times, you know, I just beat up on people. Maybe they do get Blizzard 1 out, or they get Blizzard 2 out, and they're able to actually get underneath the energy shield to try and come to you. And then you plop down like 3 Snowspeeders and a pilot or 2, and, you know, all of a sudden you're outpowering the Blizzard 1 with 2 pilots, and you're outpowering them by, you know, 5 to 8 force or 5 to 8 power or something like that. And you kind of kick their butt in battles, and then, you know, once you do that one time, it's a lot of times it's just kind of game over for your opponent. So, yeah, it's, again, people just don't really know how to play against this kind of deck, and it's fun to play with too. So, yeah, make the deck, get on GIMP. I'm gonna try and put a link to the information on the Retro League in the description. If you have any questions about anything, just let me know. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you.